A resistance to leaning the bike has got to be the most common roadblock I see for riders working to climb the track riding ranks. This typically comes from riders who are working to perform correct technique, but they reach a point where leaning the bike anymore becomes a difficult and frustrating affair. Fear of leaning the bike can come from a few different places, so in this video we're going to go over many of those places along with some steps you can take to help you overcome this fear so that you can start reaching high lean angles for yourself on track. Through the various channels that I help riders improve their skills on track, a fear of leaning the bike is a frustration I see coming up time and time again, with most of those riders feeling lost and unsure on just what they need to do to overcome this barrier. And I say that because I want you to know that if this is a problem for you, you are not alone, and it's something that all but a few track riders will have to battle to some degree. But I know that won't soothe your frustration much, so let's get into it. First, we're going to tackle the more common mental barriers that riders have around lean angle, and then after that we'll look at some practical steps to take. So the first mental barrier is not trusting the bike and tyres. This is the simple fear that the bike and tyres won't be able to handle higher lean angles, they'll lose traction and you'll crash. This leaves riders riding around at lean angles they know to be safe, and they find it difficult to push past that current limit. My advice here is always try to get perspective by trying to understand just what your bike and tyres are really capable of. For the vast majority of you watching this, your tyres are likely more capable than you realise. And this image is one of my favourite photos I like to reference when this fear comes up. This picture was taken at the launch event of the old Dunlop Road Smart 2s back in 2011. As you can see, lean angle in particular is not a problem for this rider. And this wasn't even a road-biased track tyre, it was a sports touring tyre. And that's an important thing to realise. With a balanced bike and smooth rider inputs, lean angle itself is not a limiting factor of tyres like these. The limits of less race-focused tyres are found when trying to push the fronts going into corners, and as you're trying to lay down the power as you're coming out of them. Even many riding schools use sports touring tyres on their bikes because they know they'll offer enough grip for the students to ride comfortably, but they'll last a few thousand miles more. Something you can also do is use others for inspiration. Another way to gain perspective is to look at what others are doing around you on similar machinery and tyres. One of my biggest boosts in confidence in my earlier years on track came from watching my friends go racing. I was riding the next day at the same track, and seeing the guys blasting around a healthy amount faster than me injected belief into me overnight. Knowing I could fall back on the fact that I was performing good technique, it enabled me to make a big step very quickly. The only thing that changed was my belief in tyre capability and their ability to stay stuck to the ground. Maybe there's others that come past you in your group with their knee on the deck and reaching lean angles you're aiming for. If you're on high-end rubber, it's pretty safe to assume that the tyres are just as capable from a lean angle perspective. As I said, on a well-maintained machine on sporty rubber that's up to temperature, lean angle itself isn't really the enemy, and the bike will quite happily sit at high lean angle all day if it's balanced and stable. It's what you do with the other controls that's likely to cause a break in traction. Things like too much brake at high lean, poor throttle control, a death grip on the bars, or unnecessary steering inputs. With the perspective that your tyres are well capable of high lean angles, then all you have to do is trust that your technique is fundamentally correct, or at least somewhere close to it. Another issue is our natural intolerance for lean angle. As expressed in Bernd Spiegel's fantastic book, The Upper Half of the Motorcycle, we as humans have an embedded intolerance to higher lean angles. Without going too deep into it, basically it's something that was built into us for many thousands of years standing on two legs and being perpendicular to the ground. This is our natural and comfortable position to be in, both visually and how we balance ourselves as we move around. Added to that is our extensive experience of running on natural surfaces, where it can be observed that our natural leaning limit is around 20 degrees. It's 20 degrees because it's at that point where the quality of traction we get on these natural surfaces begins to diminish, so much so that it becomes a big concern for us. When we throw our leg over a bike for the first time, this long bedded-in instinct remains with us and translates straight into our fears of tyre traction at higher lean angles. As you push past that natural leaning limit, all of that comes together to create some strange sensations and often resistance to lean angle. A resistance to lean the bike itself, but also a resistance to lean the body over too. Now, this is something that can only really be overcome with the experience of higher lean angles, but just knowing that this could be a factor in your resistance may help you better pinpoint where the issue is coming from. Something else to consider is your perception of lean. Another reason why riders struggle is because they have a poor perception of lean, meaning they feel they're leaning over a large amount when really they're not. Because of this poor perception, it leaves riders fearful of leaning the bike more because they worry they'll lose traction or some part of the motorcycle will touch down. A good way to combat this is once again to improve your perspective. And the best way to get perspective is to look at photos and videos of yourself. If you can see a good deal of space before your knee or foot hits the floor, then you know you still have some way to go. So how do we actually break our lean angle barriers? Everything that we've covered to this point has been dealing with the mental issues behind resistance to lean angle, along with some baked-in physical ones too. This is where the vast majority of lean angle resistance will be coming from. But even with that being the case, you still have to get out there and push through the barrier itself to truly build greater confidence in higher lean angles. The first step in this is to put yourself in the best position to achieve your goal. To do that, pick a corner you're most comfortable with and follow the following steps. And in my experience, medium speed corners that are fairly long and that require a fair amount of braking work well. So once you have your corner selected, now you must use a suitable corner entry approach. Charging into a corner trying to full speed is unlikely going to get you the result you want. Instead, I find it best to use a more modest braking point that leaves you enough time and attention to focus on what you're really trying to do. Roll a bit more speed into the corner. This means using a braking point and level of braking that easily allows you to roll more speed into the corner, but not braking so late and hard that it moves you into corner attacking territory. With a sensible braking point set, now you just need to release the brake lever a little quicker as you approach the corner. With everything else remaining the same, this is a surefire way to incrementally roll more speed into it. And next comes the harder bit, leaning the bike more. As you move into the corner with an extra helping of speed than you usually have, you'll need to lean the bike a little more to create a similar line and hit the same apex. As you begin steering and leaning the bike over, you may simply push straight past your previous limit and lean the bike more, which is great. However, what could also happen is that you'll once again lean the bike to the angle you know to be safe and hit your existing barrier. And it's at this stage that you should tell yourself to lean the bike more and that it's safe to do so. Then just lightly press on the inside bar to initiate a little more lean, all while remaining off the throttle. And this is why picking a longer corner helps, because steering into the corner is typically slower and you have more time in the corner itself, allowing a greater opportunity to note what's going on and actually lean the bike more. And once you've done that and you're happy with your line for the apex and exit, pick up the throttle and continue your normal throttle routine. Now, while saying just lean it more is so simple, I know it's tough and I know there'll often be a lot of frustration around this area. So try not to be too hard on yourself as you work to break this barrier. Do your best to get as much perspective as you can on the potential your bike and tyres have and how much potential you're currently using. And with patience and a little conscious practice, it shouldn't be long before you can begin pushing through the barrier yourself. Are you struggling with a lean angle barrier or have you broken through one yourself? Tell us about it in the comments down below, and as always, if you like the video then please hit the button and subscribe to the channel for more performance riding advice and guides moving forward. Hope you enjoyed it, I'll see you in the next one.